So about a month ago, I decided that I wanted to switch from using a USB microphone to an XLR microphone. And I really thought that it was going to just be this easy, seamless switch. And it turns out there was a lot more to it than that. It was a little bit more complicated than what I anticipated. There were some things that I had to buy, like an audio interface. There are a lot of different ones. They do different things. They have different preamps. There's just all this stuff. It's not like a USB microphone where you buy it, plug it in, and it works. But you get a lot more control and refinement over your audio. And I think that you can get a lot better audio quality depending on the audio interface that you end up purchasing. But this video is not going to be about audio interfaces. I just want to talk about a microphone that I think might be a good transition piece for people that are looking to switch from USB to XLR, and that's the Fifine K688. Now, they were kind enough to send this over for review, but the views and opinions of this microphone are going to be completely mine. They're not paying me to say anything about their product, but I just kind of wanted to share my experience with you guys because I didn't know the difference between a dynamic microphone and a condenser microphone when I started this journey. And I'm used to having my microphone like out of frame and you can't see it, but I was using a USB blue condenser microphone and the sensitivity is different. And I was always complaining. It's actually kind of interesting that, like, if anybody's in my house, like my family, my kids, anybody's home, you could hear someone drop something on the floor 2 stories up with that microphone. And it caused me a lot of pain points in editing and trying to filter out a lot of the sounds that my family's making because honestly, it's just really hard to keep everybody in my house quiet when I'm trying to record. And then that led me to wanting to get a dynamic microphone after I did a bunch of research because the sensitivity is a lot lower. But what I found out was that because the sensitivity is a lot lower, you actually need to have a pretty good audio interface to boost the gain back up so that when I'm talking to the microphone, even though it's now in frame, you can actually hear me in the video. So it's just all really interesting, I guess, but I got through it and I just wanted to talk about some of the different stuff that I got along the journey. But this video is going to be specifically about the Fifine K688. So I've intentionally used a different microphone. This is a Zoom microphone. It is a dynamic XLR microphone, just so that you can hear the difference in sound quality when we switch over to the Fifine K688. Now, I'm going to do a quick unboxing, and then after we get done with the unboxing, we will switch over and I'm going to hook it up so that you can hear it both in USB as well as XLR mode. And then I'll make sure that I have all the stats down on the screen so that you know like what the gain level is at in both settings. And I'm not going to do anything in post to change how the sound actually sounds. So you're going to get it raw. And if it's too quiet or you can't hear me or whatever, it's intentional because I just want you to see the real world use case of the microphone without doing anything to it. And then at the end, we'll come back. I'll have all my settings good, and then we can just talk about my experience and some of the pros and the cons to the actual microphone itself. So without further ado, let's hop into the unboxing. Taking a look at the packaging, this is what the front looks like, and then I'll go ahead and flip this over. Feel free to pause this if you want to look at any of the specifications or features or what you get in the actual box itself. Now, once we go ahead and we get this opened up, the first thing that we're greeted with is a user guide. And then once we remove this piece of styrofoam that's underneath the user guide, we have all of the other stuff that comes with the microphone. And the first thing is a USB-C to USB-C cable. Now it does have a Type A adapter on there if your PC does not have USB-C. We also have a 3/8 to 5/8 adapter. This is going to be for your boom arm. And then the last but not least, we have the microphone itself. The microphone does have a mute button here on the top. It is capacitive and it only works in USB mode. And the microphone also comes with a shock mount. Now, if we take a closer look at the ports on the back of the microphone, you have your XLR port, you have your USB Type-C port, as well as your 3.5mm headphone jack port. That's going to allow you to plug in any of your headphones for monitoring. Then you have gain controls for both the headphones here on the top, as well as the actual microphone itself. And these are only applicable if you're using this in USB mode. Now the knobs on this, they feel pretty good. They don't feel like they're really cheap and they're going to fall apart. They do have a good bit of resistance to them, so I think that they're going to work pretty well once we get this hooked up. It also has a hinge here for you to hook this up to the boom arm so it swivels, so you get a little bit of adjustment there. And it does come with a built-in pop filter. You can go ahead and just pull that right off, and then this is what the microphone looks like with the pop filter removed, and you can kind of see a closer look at the internals of the actual microphone here. Now the microphone is constructed out of metal, at least at the piece where the pop filter is removed, and then the shock mount itself is actually metal as well. It's hard to tell if the actual base of the microphone is metal. If it is, it's a lot thinner metal than what everything else is constructed out of, but overall it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel like it's cheap, and it aesthetically looks like a really quality product. Okay, so we've got through the unboxing. I've got the Fifine K688 all hooked up, and I've got it in the XLR mode. As you can see, I have the XLR cable here on the back, and this is connected to my Mackie Producer, I believe it's 2 in, 2 out audio interface. Now, right now, the gain is turned all the way up, and you can see how far away from the microphone I am, and this is exactly how it sounds. Real quick, I wanted to hop in here and just show you a quick comparison. So this is what it sounds like on the Zoom ZDM-1, which is the microphone I was using at the beginning of the video, and then now we'll switch back over to the Fifine just so you can hear it in real time. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the gain down to 3/4 on my audio interface, just so that you can see what the sound sounds like from that with me the same distance. So we'll do that right now. Okay, so now the gain on the K688 on my Mackie audio interface is set at 3/4, and this is how loud it sounds. Now I have my gain at exactly half on the Mackie Producer audio interface with the Fifine K688. Okay, so I've turned it back up to max gain on my Mackie audio interface, and this is what it sounds like with me just talking normal in a normal manner with the microphone roughly 3 inches from my face. So I'm not like down in it talking like this. I'm just talking normal with the microphone in frame. This is where I would have it if I were using this day to day. Anyway, now if you have a condenser microphone, you'd be able to have that off frame and it would still be able to pick up the audio at roughly the same level or maybe even slightly louder, depending on where you had the gain set on the condenser microphone. Now you will see that when I'm using this microphone, if I get closer, it does get louder. If I get farther away, this is what it sounds like. If I were to move roughly 6 inches away from the microphone and I'm talking normal, this is what it sounds like. If I elevate my voice 6 inches away from the microphone, this is what it sounds like. Now, if we go ahead and we do a test where instead of having the microphone facing my mouth, we actually turn it. So if I adjust this, now I'm talking into the side of the microphone. Now, the microphone does come with a built-in pop filter. It is removable, so you can just slide this off. This is what the microphone sounds like without the pop filter installed. I'm still roughly 3 inches from the microphone, and I have the end of it facing me. Now, a lot of people like to do this test where they do the whole Peter Piper picked up, and they want to see how it sounds. But I think those tests are kind of funny. I think that as long as you don't have your mouth eating the microphone, that most microphones that at least come with the foam cover or some form of a pop filter are going to be okay, as long as you're not like burying your face in the microphone when you talk, and you're also not screaming. But overall, I think that in XLR mode, with it connected to my audio interface, at least this specific one, it sounds good. I don't think it's a bad microphone. It's a very good starting point microphone. It does take a lot of power. It's a very power hungry microphone. So if you don't want to buy an inline preamp, or you don't want to spend money to get a good quality audio interface, this might not be the best microphone for you. And I went through some trials and tribulations when I first got this because I couldn't figure out why you couldn't hear anything when I was trying to record. I was using a different audio interface and it just didn't have the same preamp power as my Mackie. That's not the microphone's fault. It's actually my fault for not researching the microphone in itself. So I should have realized that the sensitivity on this was really low. It's like almost negative 60 dB or like mid to high 50s ish, I think. I'll put it down on screen here once I look it up because I don't know it off the top of my head. But you need a lot of gain to be able to get this to be at a somewhat usable level. So if you were to buy an inline preamp and then use that in conjunction with something like a Scarlett Solo or something that puts out around 50 dB for your preamp power, you're probably going to be okay. Now, the one that I have puts out, I think 60. I'm not using an inline preamp, but it is maxed out, so I am giving it the full 60 dB of gain, and it sounds okay, I think. And you have some manipulation in post with the gain depending on what software suite you're using. So for example, Final Cut will allow you to add up to 12 dB worth of gain in post on top of whatever you have coming out of your audio interface or your inline preamp. And in my situation, that's going to be fine. DaVinci Resolve's similar. So it really just depends on what your setup is, what video editor you're using, or what tools I guess you have. You could add gain in a free software suite like Audacity. I don't know if there's a limit to how much gain you can actually add because I don't use that program a whole lot, but you'll need something to be able to add gain to this if you don't have a very good preamp or audio interface, period. So now we're going to go ahead, I'm going to switch this over to USB mode, and it's got a gain knob on the back of it. I'm going to do the exact same thing where I talk, and I'm just going to adjust the gain level so that you can hear it. And then if I need to do anything in post, I will put that down on the screen so that you can see exactly how much gain was added in post so that you could hear it. All right, so we're back. So this is the K688 connected via a USB-C cable. You'll see my XLR cable is right here. And I have the gain on the back of the microphone. There's two knobs, one for your headphones and one for the built-in preamp. I have the gain on the preamp maxed completely out. I have the microphone roughly the same distance as it was when I had the XLR cable connected, and this is how it sounds being recorded directly to my computer with no gain added. Now, if I need to add gain, I'm going to add the gain right here, and I will put exactly how much gain I added on the bottom of the screen. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the gain down to 3/4 so that you can hear the difference. So this is 3/4, same distance, no settings have been changed. Now we are at half gain on the USB connected K688, and this is exactly what it sounds like. Now we are at 1/4 gain on the K688, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, so now we're back to max gain, and I just wanted to kind of just go through a couple of things. So if you connect this with a USB cable, you do get a mute button here at the top. It is lit up green. It's not a physical button, it's capacitive, but if you touch it, it'll mute, and then you touch it again to unmute. You do have a 3.5mm headphone jack here on the back that we went over in the unboxing that you can plug headphones in to do real-time monitoring, and you have a gain or volume control knob for your headphones directly on the back of the microphone. So if you like how this sounds plugged in with a USB cable and you don't feel like there's a lot of things that you need to actually change, this will allow you to transition from using it as a USB mic to XLR mic once you get your audio interface sorted out and all of that stuff. Now, I will say that when I use this with an XLR cable, it is very gain hungry, and I wasn't able to bring the audio level up in post with a cheaper audio interface that only produced about 50 dB worth of gain. I had to get one that was at least 60 to make this usable for me. I haven't listened to the audio back yet while making this video, but if you think it sounds good with a USB cable, then you should be good. Now the functionality of the mic and how it sounds, I don't really think that there's really going to be a huge difference because it's the same components of the microphone. The only thing that's changing between using XLR and USB is the actual amp and the amount of gain that the microphone's getting, the quality of the preamps that the signal's going through my Mackie compared to whatever's built into the actual microphone. I'm using the same software to record everything. I'm using the same editing software, so that's really the only change. So we shouldn't see a big difference between the actual sound quality between the two, based on the way I have everything set up and I'm recording it. So to kind of sum things up here, I think overall this is a good microphone and it's really good for someone that's trying to transition from USB to XLR because it does offer you the versatility of both. Now just take note, like I've been harping the entire video, just make sure that you know what you're getting into. You need a good preamp or audio interface to make this work and sound good. If you just buy it and you bought some cheap audio interface off eBay or off of AliExpress and it doesn't have enough dB in the gain, so like 50 dB or less, this isn't going to work for you. You're not going to be able to hear anything when you try and record with it. You're going to need to add an inline preamp that will connect to the microphone, and then the XLR cable connects to that. That's going to boost the signal. Or you can buy a more expensive audio interface that puts out at least 60 dB of gain. That's key. And if you do either of those things, this microphone is going to work beautifully for you. It sounds great. It looks good. I really like the contrast they did with the foam on here, how it's gray instead of black, because most microphones are black. And then the foam pop filter is also black. This really helps it stand out. It looks really elegant. It doesn't feel cheap, even though the price point might make it seem like it's kind of cheap. I think it's a really decent microphone once I figured out how to use it. But that's about all I have for this video. So if I may have missed something, or you have any questions, or you want to know something, hit me up down in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'm going to put a link down in the video description if you want to check this out. And if you haven't already, give me a thumbs up if you like this video and subscribe to my channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.